obviously a few people might still be catching up with those updates. So we will be doing it at this time until daylight savings then changes again, just to mess us up again at the other end. But yeah, I'm really excited about this training. Questions and answers. So for me, this learning, I guess, what I'm going to share with you today, when I learned this content that I'm sharing with you today, it totally changed everything for me. It changed my leadership style in business. It changed my parenting style. It changed my marriage, my relationship, everything, from the distinctions that I made through. It was a book actually, and the title that I gave this training was "Change Your Questions, Change Your Life." And that was actually the title of the book that started it all for me, and started me, you know, upskilling, I guess, in this area. So I can recommend definitely reading that. It's funny, it's actually a book. Here's the crazy thing about that book. Most books that I read that I get a lot out of, like I love reading them, and I don't want to stop reading them, and it's just, you know, every minute I can get, I'm jumping into it. Whereas that book, hated reading it. I couldn't stand the way it was written, the style, how it was all put together. But the content in there, the learning in there, game changer. Now, here's one thing that I haven't put in this. It's not, I don't think it's in this slide deck anywhere, but it's certainly a really important thing to keep in mind when we are doing anything. Now, I say this regularly to myself, and I guess if you're taking notes, jot it down and remember this, and own it and practice it. Now, the person who is asking the questions is controlling the conversation. If you remember that, you'll always go to the right place. You know, if, as I say, with you know, with being a parent, you want to control the situation, right? When you're parenting your kids, so you want to be the one asking the questions. When you're, I don't know, I've probably just played all my best cards out now, because if my wife listens to this training after, she's actually just spending some time with the kids right now, then she's going to know that, you know, when we're having a conversation, I'm controlling where the conversation's going, because I'm asking the questions there as well. And then in business, and you know, for me, most of you who are you know, watching this training, you know me through our company Kyani, and it's something that I learned in my journey of growing a Kyani business. Now I look back, you know, I've been in business since I was 22, and I look at my leadership style, I look at the way I was running my business in traditional business, and the way I was programmed through school and society, and getting brought up and educated, to always having to have the answers. You know, being first of all, the company owner, and then the site supervisor or whatever it is, and you know, coordinating teams of individual, like teams of installers. You know, I was the guy that had to have the answers. Or so I thought. You know, problems would come my way, challenges would come my way, and I had to have the answers. Now that I know what I know about this space, I would have totally changed my leadership style in traditional business. I would have totally changed how I managed my whole organization and communicated with my team. And I can almost guarantee that that business would have performed better because of it. You know, would have created independence and more leverage within the organization, and you know, more lifestyle for myself in the business. So I am going to hide this screen that's showing me my own ugly mug, and I'm going to just keep it to the slides, and hopefully I can keep admitting things. Obviously, Zoom has changed their settings with everything that's been going down, so it's a bit of a bugger, but we'll work through it. So questions and answers. So is it better to have questions or to have the answers? Now, when I was, like I say, the way I've been educated, the way I've been taught, grown up, programmed, whatever it is, I've always thought that the smart person has the answers. And if you want to come across as smart and knowing what you're doing, I guess, competent and confident is to be the person that has the answers. We've all heard this before. Ask a stupid question. Ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer. Now, I put that little picture there. I remember putting this training together, and I put that picture there because, you know, it's been a long time since I've been at school, and I didn't even go that far in school. But I will never, ever, 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 ever for the rest of my life forget the feeling of the teacher asking a question, me putting my hand up and answering that question and getting it wrong. And just, you know, getting shut down by the teacher, getting laughed at, maybe even by the other kids in the class. And so, you know, having been shot down from that point of view. But then when I look at it from the other way around, when the teacher's doing something at the front of the room, and then I put my hand up and ask a question, and it's a stupid question, and again, I'm at the other end of getting shut down by the teacher or getting laughed at by the rest of the kids. So that alone, you know, experiences like that alone can shut you up like a clam from asking questions when questions need to be asked. So what about this one? We all know someone like this. You know, that person that already knows everything. They're a know-it-all. They, you know, as soon as you've got something, they've got an opinion on it. As soon as you, you know, there's a question you're pondering, bang, they've got the answer. And, you know, they think they are always right. Now, here's one thing that I do know. The second you have all the answers, or the second you think you have all the answers, it's the second you stop learning and growing. Now, most of you have sat through different trainings and things that we've done in the past, and it's all about, life is all about learning and growing, and we often say failing our way forward. So we never want to feel like we've got all the answers. We never want to be the know-it-all. We never want to shut ourselves down to questioning, you know, to good quality questions. So, a couple of truth bombs for you. It's not the answer that enlightens, it is the question. It is opposite to what I got taught. You know, the person with the question is the person that, the person with the answer is what I got taught is the person that's enlightening everyone. But it is the question, because what comes first? You know, you can just go along, flowing along through life, flowing along through business or relationships or whatever it is. But if the question is never asked, then the answer, the enlightenment, I don't even know how to pronounce that. You're never enlightened. Let's say it that way. So there is such thing as a stupid question, though. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, because the quality of our questions will determine the quality of our life. And I say life because it's everything, as I say, relationships, business, the works, health. So some questions are empowering and some questions are disempowering. So this is the important thing to remember. It's the question that enlightens, but some questions can be empowering and some can be disempowering. So Think and Grow Rich, Thinking Fast and Slow, The Magic of Thinking Big, The Power of Positive Thinking, As a Man Thinketh, all absolutely classic books, right? Obviously one thing in common, they're all talking about thinking there. So thinking, what is thinking? How important is thinking? If there's that many amazing personal development books, like I'm talking, those ones I just shared with you there are absolute classics. So if so many people have put so much content together after years of life experience, years of trial and error, and so many people find value in that decades down the track. Some of those books are, you know, 50, 60, 70 years old, right? So thinking's obviously pretty important if that's the case. So what is it? What is thinking? Have a think about that now. What is thinking? And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring this screen back up so I can see you guys. I would love for you to tell me, for someone to come off and share. So what is thinking? Anyone brave enough? So I've asked a question, right?
It's questioning yourself, right? And then coming up with answers for it.
That's right.
And
It's
to be
literally,
fair, I stole that from you.
it's literally that. It's literally asking ourselves questions. So I've asked you a question, what is thinking? And so your brain starts thinking about what the answer is. So it's a question. It's thinking is asking ourselves questions and answering them constantly, over and over and over and over and over again. We're doing it all day, every day. We're doing it all day, every day. We're asking ourselves questions and we're answering. I remember reading a statistic somewhere, the average of how many questions we ask ourselves. I'll find it and I'll chuck it in our Facebook group and let you know. It's staggering. Like the brain moves super fast, right? So all day, every day, we are asking and answering questions. That's what thinking is. Well, what have I done here? So it's simply asking and answering questions. Right. So if we want to take control of our thinking, you know, they talk on all those self-help books that we talk about what we focus on, you know, we move towards, what we think about grows, what we put energy in grows in our life. So we want to take control of our thinking. You hear people talk about positive thinking. Now, I buy into positive thinking a lot, but I don't buy all of it because there's more parts to the equation. You know, I've got a nice little garden sitting out the side here, a new one that we started. Now, the weeds pop up in the garden. Now, I can sit here and think, no weeds, no weeds, no weeds, no weeds, no weeds. Like I can think that as long as I want to think that, and the weeds are still going to be there, right? That's not how positive thinking works. It's not taking control of our thinking. Thinking, obviously, thoughts usually produce actions. Action produces results. Negative thoughts, negative actions, positive thoughts, positive actions. So if we want to take control of our thinking, we've got to take control of our questions, because that's what it is. It's hard. It's very hard to go, hey, I'm going to control my thinking. I'm going to think in a positive way. I'm going to think in abundance. I'm going to think, you know, in terms of you know, growing and abundance and so forth. So that's hard work to do. But taking control of our questions is for me, it's an easy way to go about thinking. It brings some awareness. So our questions fall into one of two categories. This was the big thing for me. This was the aha moment for me in the wording that when I read the book, Change Your Questions, Change Your Life, the wording around this was like, I totally grasped it. So we've got learner questions or we've got judger questions. Literally, that is the two categories that we have, learner and judger. So check out these questions. What sort of a question are they and where do they lead? What's wrong with them? What's wrong with me? Why do things like this always happen to me? You know, I've been asked this question a lot in my life, and about 10 years ago, I came up with what I thought was the best response. And so when people say, so why do things like this always happen to me? And I would say, hey, the best thing I can work out is that things like that usually happen to people like you every time. Because now that I know this information, it makes perfect sense. Terrible question. Why does it have to be so hard? So they're all judger questions. You're judging. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with me? You know, there's not observations. It's judgment type questions. Why do things like this always happen to me? So these are poor quality questions, judger questions. These are in the bucket of ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer. You know, what's wrong with me? Oh, you're not good enough at this. You're not good enough at that. You're looking for all the negatives that make up you. You know, why do things always happen? Why do things like this always happen to me? Oh, because you're stupid, because you're not smart enough, because you're, you know, whatever it is, because you're tall, because you're short, because you're bald, because you, you know, whatever it is, right? So we want to eliminate judger questions from our questioning, from our thinking. So check out these questions. How can I help them? What is missing here? What else could this mean? I love that one. When something bad happens, what else could this mean? What do I want? So many people struggle with this one. And I'm going to share some crackers at the end of this training. So hopefully that helps. So these are learner questions. So instead of making judgments, we're after a question like this, we're more educated at the end of it. You know, how can I help them? So you're growing you're learning something in the process of this. You're becoming more. You're becoming more value, and you've been able to give more value by answering learner questions. You know, you're becoming a better person through this, moving towards all the positive things, moving towards contributing more, rather than becoming a negative person and impacting the world in a negative way. So, like this little picture, it's a saying I drop often: when the Shizen hits the fan type thing. Inevitably, this happens in our life. It happens, stuff out of our control. It's funny because, you know, we're saying this a lot with a lot of trainings now, because the people who have been working on personal development for a long time are cruising through this pandemic crisis that the world's going through right now a lot better than those who aren't. And I would say what we have right now literally is the crap hitting the fan. So when it happens, we need to switch on awareness. We need to click ourselves into gear and have awareness around our thinking. So the judge or learner side of things. So when we've got awareness around it, we can actively switch. You know, it's sort of like the needle in the middle, and you know, it goes to judger, or you can push it across to learner. And sometimes, and you know, a lifetime of habits, a lifetime of programming takes more than 5 minutes to turn around. And we all end up in judger. I end up in judger a lot, but I don't stay there. This is the secret, because I've got awareness around it, and I change my thoughts, I change my languaging around it. So, you know, can I do this? So you're judging yes or no, whether you can or do it, instead of how can I do this? So just the languaging, the awareness around it, you can absolutely change. You know, I can't afford it. How can I afford it type thing? Can we? How can we? So having awareness and changing that, changing your languaging, asking the same question, you know, it's almost the same question, but shifting from the judge's side of things to the learner side of things. And don't be hard on yourself. As I said, we're going to mess up, and we end up in that judger pit, they call it in the book, right? We end up in a judger pit where we're, you know, it takes us in that downward spiral, but we can move away from there by acknowledging it, and, you know, ask learner questions to change the path that you're on. You know, sometimes we end up there. Sometimes things happen and move so fast, it's just bombarding us with all this negativity, and we get caught up in the negativity. We start asking the crappy questions. We end in the downward spiral, and then can feel like you're too deep. But acknowledge it and say, whoa, you know, I've ended up here, and this is the scenario. We've heard this stuff before. The same thing can happen to two people, and those same like influences can crush one person and spur the other person on to achieve great things. And you know, if we end up that crushed person, we don't have to stay there. As long as we've got awareness around it, acknowledge it, and think, hang on, we've been asking ourselves crappy questions, we've been thinking crappy thoughts, time to change the path, and let's ask some learner questions. So this here is a list of questions I was just chucking together to share with you guys around what I think are really good quality learner type questions. So, what do I want? Absolute cracking question. So many people aren't clear on what they want. And again, it's how we've been programmed. I keep sort of saying that. It's those habits that we've developed over years and years and years and years. And when I work one-on-one with people, in a situation like this. Like, think about Kyani with our business, our why. What do I want? Our why is so important, right? Why we do anything is important. And people struggle on getting clear on what they want. And I get it. You know, I've been there too. I remember the very, very first event I did, the first big time personal development event. I was sitting in an entertainment center with like 4,000 other people at a Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within event. And it was a what do you want type thing, that the question that was asked. And I'm just sitting there blank, like completely blank. I've got this workbook in front of me. I'm completely blank. What made it even worse is I'm looking around at 4,000 other people that's just about smoke coming off their page, writing stuff down. And then I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me, right? Judge your questions, all this sort of stuff. Well, all these people doing, why can't I do this? Am I destined to just be where I'm at now for the rest of my life? And I'm going on down all this stuff. Then he said something, changed my life forever. And I've used it a billion times, not a billion times. I've used it thousands of times now in helping other people. So people that can't work out what do I want, then forget about that. Ask them, what don't you want? Because most people can stand there for an hour and a half and talk to you about what they don't want. And so all you do is you get them to write a list of everything they don't want. And this might be a friend, it might be a close friend, it might even be the person who's looking into the computer screen right now, who can work out what they don't want. And then all you do is you go crazy, write down everything you don't want, and then just go and write the opposite on the other page. Because that's what you do want. If you don't want it, you want the opposite. So there's the easiest way to get around that one. And sounds like a really simple question. What do I want? And it's one of those how big's the universe type questions for me. Well, it was until I worked out that I could just work out what I don't want and then keep going forward. What assumptions am I making? Another awesome book to read, and you will probably put a level up training around some of this, is The 4 Agreements. You know, we should never make assumptions. Do you know how many times in my life I've ended up making myself look incredibly stupid by making assumptions, or getting a bad outcome because I made assumptions? You know, so before we act on anything, when we're feeling crappy, when we're feeling angry, when we're feeling frustrated, when we're feeling defeated, ask yourself the question, okay, well, what assumptions am I making? Because assumptions aren't true. You know, they're not based on facts. So this can be a great question to get us out of that hole, that negativity. What am I responsible for? What am I responsible for? The answer to this question, depending on where you're at in your evolution as a leader, in your evolution as a person, the realization, there's a couple of realizations that I've had, the more I've worked on becoming the leader I want to become. And one of them is I'm responsible for everything. I am responsible for absolutely everything. You know, if everything goes amazing, awesome. If everything goes crappy, it's my fault. And I take responsibility for it. And the other thing that I've realized, the more I've gone down this journey, the more I've learnt, I realize the less I actually know. There is so much to learn along the way. There is so much to know and experience and implement that, remember that right at the beginning of the training, that know-it-all type person, I feel sorry for the know-it-all type person, because now as I've evolved as a person and I've strived to work to become a better leader, I've strived to learn more, I know nothing. I know nothing. I'm almost 40 and I feel like I'm just getting started. I've got a lot to learn and I'm responsible for that. So how else can I think about this? Powerful question to change the direction of where you're headed. This one here is something that, this was one that I had actually learned early on in business before I learned more about this topic that I'm sharing with you today. And I learned this from a negotiating point of view. You know, in negotiations, most people think if a good negotiator will get everything they want and screw the other person down to nothing. Now, okay, that might be good for that one deal, but will you ever do another deal with that person ever again? Chances are, no, it's not going to happen. A good negotiation, both parties walk away feeling like they've won. Both parties walk away feeling happy. We talk about this business when we're sharing this with someone. We want to make sure that we're bringing them to this business. They're adding value to this business, but we also want to make sure the business is adding value to them. That's a good negotiation. That's a good partnership. That's something that can go long term. So this is a great question. What is the other person feeling, thinking, or wanting? When there's conflict, when you're negotiating, when there's friction, you know, what are they feeling? How are they feeling about it? You know, when this pandemic hit, and it was right when we were moving back here after spending some time in Adelaide. We were moving back here anyway, and it was right when everything was going on and people were scared and panicking. I copped so much negativity. You know, followed all the rules, did all the quarantining and all of that sort of stuff that we had to do, and we were getting attacked left, right, and centre. And so when I look at these questions here, you know, our life was crazy for like a week or two. Crazy, like absolutely crazy. And so what am I responsible for as a question? I'm pretty much was responsible for all of it. You know, I could have handled the whole thing a lot better, but it was this question that kept a lid on our side of thinking. What's the other person feeling, thinking, or wanting? You know, these people were scared. The media had blown up coronavirus into be this crazy boogeyman that's going to jump out from behind a bush and kill you. And everybody was feeling as though we had the coronavirus and were bringing it to this island, and, you know, all the negativity. So you've got to be able to relate to that. That's a really powerful question. What is the other person feeling, thinking, or wanting? What am I missing, or what am I avoiding? You know, comfort zone stuff here. What am I avoiding? Sometimes what we're avoiding is there to help us grow, to challenge us, to, you know, to make us become more, be better, whatever it is. What am I missing? You know, this can be, every puzzle in the world is not complete if there's one piece missing, just one piece. I used to do it to my mum. My mum loves doing puzzles. She'd have these 2,000 piece puzzles that she works on for a month. And I'd go over for dinner and I would just grab a piece and I would hide it in her house somewhere. And then, you know, a week or two, I'm down there for dinner again and the jigsaw's almost complete. And she finishes it all off and there's one piece missing, and I would go up like behind a flower plant or something, pick out the one piece and put it in, and just rip off her from being the person that finished it off. And she hated it, and I'm obviously nasty for doing that. But the puzzle's not complete if there's one piece missing. So that can be the best question ever. What am I missing? Yes, things can be going amazing, and that's the best time to ask that question. What am I missing? Love this one. So what can I learn from this person, this situation, or this mistake? You've heard me say this before, we fail our way forward. Now, a failure is only a failure if we refuse to take any learnings from it. Otherwise, it's just education. You know, most of the successful people out there in the world will say, you know, when they're interviewed, how have you become so successful? And it's like, I've failed more times than most people ever try. And you fail and we learn from it. I remember reading an article once on it was high-end banking. This guy, he'd been employed for only 2 or 3 months, and he made an error in their computing side of things, and it cost the bank hundreds of millions of dollars vanished from this one mistake. And anyway, they were interviewing the CEO of the bank, you know, down the track of all this, and they were talking about that mistake and all that, and then, oh, you know, yeah, we found out how that happened, who was responsible, blah blah blah. And they're like, did you fire that guy? And he goes, fire him? You've got to be kidding me. We just spent hundreds of millions of dollars on his training. So, you know, that's the right way to look at it. So what questions should I ask myself or others? This is a powerful one because you know, sometimes we're blank, and, you know, so asking this, what question should I ask myself? What about when it comes back, oh, I don't know? And this was another Tony Robbins thing, actually. I can't believe how much of this stuff's popping up in my head right now. I'm talking, this is 15 years, 17 years down the track. So he asked the question one time when I was stuck in another workshop. It was actually here on this island. You know what's crazy is I'm talking this now last night. So if you don't know, there's Tony Robbins lives on our island here. He's got an event that he runs here still that we did like 15 years ago or so. called Life Mastery. It's like I think it's a 6-day event or something. It's wicked, crazy event. And anyway, last night, one of my friends now on this island actually built most of Tony's resort and house and all that there. And there's a thing called the Butt Hut, which he always, it's a long story, I won't go into it here, but it's part of what you do on this retreat. And he, every time we catch up, he always laughs about the Butt Hut because Beck and I were two of the first, we were in the first group to go through the Butt Hut after they finished, which is a long story. But something that I got from Tony Robbins at that event was, oh my God, sorry guys, my dad's ringing me. Hopefully you didn't get that audio. It was coming through the computer, annoying. He's one of those guys you watch, he'll ring 20 times now that I've rejected it. So another question that he asked one time when I would say, well, I don't know. And he goes, well, what would the answer be if you did know? Like, think about that one for a question. So the question gets fired at yourself, I don't know. But what would the answer be if I did know? That's crazy. That's like provoking, right? That's a learner question. Love that one. I should have slipped that one in here. How can I turn this situation into a win-win? Told you, he's ringing again. He'll keep going. That's what old people do. So how can I turn this situation into a win-win? What is possible? You know, I love that. I love, you know what I love? Sitting down here on a clear night. I've got a little fire pit down here. Mark Crosby would know exactly where I'm talking about, down the front. And on a clear night, out here, there's no light pollution at all. The stars are insane. You know, if you haven't been inside with light and you walk outside, you don't even need a torch. Just with starlight here, it's so bright. And when the moon's out, it's crazy. And I sit up and I look at the stars, I look at the universe, I look at nature around me, and I just ponder sometimes. I'll sit down there by myself till like 1 or 2 in the morning sometimes, and I just ask myself, what's possible? You know, what's possible? What a massive question. What a massive learner question. What are my choices? Quality question. So not just going bang with the very first thing that pops into your head, and not just knee-jerk reaction. You know, the worst job in the world you could have right now, in my opinion, is a politician. I would hate to be a politician. You could not pay me enough to be a politician right now with everything that's going on in the world, because the pressure is on them to do the right thing, to protect people, to do the right thing for the economy. And it's a crazy time, and the decisions need to be made yesterday. It's like the pressure's on from everyone. And so people are making decisions really quick. And if it's good, you don't hear about it. You don't hear about it if they make a good decision. They are dragged across the coals for even a neutral or a negative decision right now. And so what would be really good is if they could sit back and stop, even if it was a day or two, and go, okay, so what are my choices? Get good people around them. I don't like brainstorming. I don't use brainstorming anymore. I use question storming. Get good people around in a group and question storm. Ask quality questions like this. What are our choices? And think about those answers as a group. What action steps make the most sense? So it's not always the first thing that comes to mind that makes the most sense, but sometimes if we're searching for an answer, we'll just jump at the first thing. So those two questions are great together. What are my choices, and what one makes the most sense? What action steps then make the most sense for the one that we choose? What am I going to do about it? Hands down, number one favorite. I should have done this one in big, bold. You know, when things are going crazy, when things aren't quite what you wanted or expected or had anticipated, here's the thing. What am I going to do about it? And it goes back to the stuff up at the top. I'm responsible for it. I'm responsible for it. What am I going to do about it? That's what it's all about. What am I doing? What's working and what's not? Sometimes we just try to keep ourselves so busy doing things. We keep doing things over and over and over and over and over again that aren't working. So once a month, I do this. When I'm planning my goals, when I'm going through my lifestyle planner, and I'm doing my goals, my 12-month goal, my monthly breakdown goals for my 12-month goals, I look at my progress from the month before. Look at what am I doing? What have I been doing? What's been working? What isn't? And I give myself permission to stop doing what isn't working. Just not just to keep busy by doing something, quit the stuff that's not working. So, and evolve and change. So what can I do right now to move me closer towards what I want? I asked myself this question every day, looking at every one of my goals. When I look at my goals, I look at it, I read my goal, and I say, what can I do right now to move me closer towards achieving that? Imagine just asking that question every day. Imagine that every day. What can I do now? I remember a business partner of mine was sharing a story of them climbing this massive peak, a mountain, and it was snow. It was Arctic type conditions. And the day that they were supposed to climb this mountain, they take off in the morning and it's pitch black dark. And they've got the little headlamp on, and she could just see the 6 foot in front of her. That's all she could see. She couldn't see the mountain. She couldn't see the conditions. She couldn't see anything. All she could see was the 6 foot in front. And all she was concentrating on was that, navigating, negotiating the next 6 feet. And then, you know, every time she'd go a foot forward, another foot would illuminate. And so she was just navigating just what's right in front of her. You know, what can I do right now to move me closer towards what I want? And she was doing that. Then as it got lighter and she got closer towards the peak, the conditions were terrible. She had gone past areas where it's just sheer drop-offs to like oblivion, like to nowhere. And she was saying, if she had seen all of it, she couldn't see where she wanted to get to, the peak. She would never have taken off because of the conditions like that. She never would have gone through some of these passes because of the drops either side and everything. But it was just focusing on what she can do right now to move me towards to where I want to go that had her reach the summit and get there. So there's some power in that. What can I do right now? Don't worry about focusing on that. That's the goal, but what can I do now with the next 6 feet in front of me? Super important. And then I love this one. What would a professional do? You know, we don't want to, you know, amateurs compete, professionals create. That's something that I learned a long time ago. Amateurs compete, professionals create. And so asking that, what would a professional do right now? You know, we want to be professional. We want to become professional. And, you know, to become a professional, there's statistics around, you know, you got to do 10,000 hours or whatever at a certain thing to become a professional in that space. So time, it takes time, but it takes time of doing the right things and asking the right questions, and you can fast track that. 10,000 hours of asking the crappy questions is going to make you a professional crappy person. 10,000 hours of asking the right questions is going to make you a professional ninja. So that wraps up the training. I try. This is a massive topic, and I really did want to try and keep it to half an hour. I've blown it out, as I probably thought I would, but I'm going to stop the share. And before we wrap it up, does anyone have any questions or anything they want to share, or any realizations with this? Is this something you've heard before, or is this something new? Has this been valuable? Can you see how this can have a positive impact? Someone's popped something in the chat. This is fantastic. Awesome. Awesome. Glad you liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, Mike. Some really good questions in there to ask myself.
Is it something you've thought about before, Mel, or is this something where it's something new?
It's something new. I haven't really thought about it. So yeah, it's gold.
Yeah. And so, you know, when we talk about, as I said at the beginning, the person asking the questions controls the conversation. Now, there's also something that I've probably spoken to a few of you about before. When we say something to someone, most times people take it from a skeptical position. You know, we are wrong and they are right. Everyone wants to be right. We're programmed like that. So if I want to get an idea or a concept or a point across to someone, instead of me like verbalizing, making a statement on what I want to get across, knowing now that that probably is going to be taken from a negative point of view, what I do is I ask myself the question, I think, right? And I ask myself the question, what can I say to have them tell me what I want to tell them? Because if I say it, it's wrong, and if they say it, it's right. So this is where I will go, okay, I can probably craft a question up here. So I fire a question at them. They will feel important for me asking a question, and they will feel fantastic being able to answer that. And it's even better if if I create the situation that the answer they give me is exactly what I wanted to tell them, because then it's right. And so the one I've shared, which is gold for customers with our business. We all know how powerful our products are, how life-changing they are. And if we tell people, it can be taken the wrong way. But if they tell us, fantastic. Now, if we followed our system, they've gone through, they've seen some information, they might have even tried some products or whatever it is. So they've got everything they need to be able to make the great decision. And I'll ask a question like, can you see the value in putting products like this into your body on a regular basis? Can you see the value in putting ingredients like this into your body on a regular basis? So instead of me going, man, you've got to take this stuff every day, giving yourself this nutrition every day is going to make you healthy today and for the future. Instead of me saying that, they're going to feel quite stupid if they've gone through everything and, watched the videos, read the content, whatever it is. And anyone in their right mind is going to say, you know what, I can see the value in putting this into my body on a regular basis. And then it's easy. So do you want to start with the extreme triangle or the FX triangle? Asking a question, great quality question. Do you want to start with this one or this one? Not, do you want to use it or not? I'm giving them two options. Both of them are becoming a customer and living healthy. So yeah, working on the quality of your questions and arming yourself with these things. And that's why for me, I'm not sharp enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm not good enough at this to do it face to face all the time. Which is why I love using Messenger and audio Messenger. You guys know I use that a lot, right? Talk into it and send it. So then when they talk into it and send it back, I can sit there and I can ask myself the right questions about what they're sending me so I can craft it together and then send it. And it's not just, trying to come off the cuff with it. Cool. Anyone else got anything? Or are we wrapping up there?
I think overall, Mike, great training. I've recently been in a bit of a hole and managed to pull myself out of it, which is really cool. The benefit, I guess, is I have the awareness, but I haven't had the quality questions to ask. So I think with what I have in front of me now, this would have made that journey a bit quicker. Really, really good training condensed down to a short block. Thank you.
Awesome. Glad it could be some value, Mark. And yeah.
Actually, one more question. So you've got the quality questions that you ask yourself, and then how do you work them to work into quality questions that you ask other people, other than like, the question that you just said about the, the product and stuff like that? How do you master those ones that you've just been saying, but into relation to saying it to other people?
So the very first one that I usually will ask myself is, what are they thinking? How are they feeling? What do they want? They're really powerful ones because it's all about them. It's what's in it for them. It's not what's in it for me. So what are they thinking? How are they feeling? What do they want? And so then I can go about going, okay, this is what they want, right? Let's say it's time freedom, or people talk about residual income a lot with our business. Now, I even spoke about residual income when I got started, thinking that's what I want, but that's not what I want. What I want is what my life will be like if there is residual income. The things I can do, the people I can hang with, and all of that sort of stuff. The income for me, I've become more and more aware. I love making money, but actually money means nothing to me, really. It's not a once I've got it, I do stupid things with it a lot of the time as well. Because it's not a major driver. It's the activity of making it, knowing that I win. It's the scoreboard. That's what it is for me. So, when people talk about earning residual income or time freedom or whatever it is, I will then craft questions around that. So an example, an example that I love. I love this one. And let's say I was talking with Gordon, right? So I could be chatting with Gordon and we're having this conversation. I'm building relationship, trust and rapport. And then I could say, hey, you come across to me as a really sharp guy who knows what they want in life and is working towards achieving it, right? So there's compliments in there and there's relationship building stuff in there. And then I could say something like, so if the next 12 months goes really well for you, what will your life look like 1 year from now? Okay, so what are they feeling? What are they thinking? What do they want? So if I don't know that, I can craft a question. So then they'll tell me what they're feeling. And so he might say, you know, I'm somebody who likes to keep busy. I can never see myself doing nothing, but I love golf. And I'd love to be playing golf at least twice a week throughout Asia. So, you know, I want to be able to travel. You know, so I guess I'd have the freedom to travel and the time freedom to play golf twice a week at a course that of my choice. So then I could ask a question, all right, so how important is it for you to achieve that? You know, or why did you choose that? Or you seem to be really clear on exactly what it is that you want. Why do you think you haven't achieved that yet? So can you see how I'm controlling the direction of the conversation, right? I'm not telling him he needs what I've got. I'm having him tell me he needs what I've got. I haven't achieved it because I'm doing 60 hours a week with the company that I'm at. I'm going from meeting to meeting to this and that and whatever it is. And so, yeah, so we can uncover the challenge, the frustration, by asking the right questions. And then, you know, there's other questions like and this is a really broad one. And if I stop and analyze this question, it's crazy, but it works really well. So a question like, if something was really worthwhile for you, would you find the time? Like, not me saying, have you got 10 hours a week to put into something? Oh no, I haven't got 10 hours a week. And I can tell you now, if you had to put 10 hours a week into something, or I'm going to take your firstborn, you find 10 hours a week, right? So if something was really worthwhile for you, so it's how you're wording this, how you're asking these questions. You can get people to tell you everything you want to tell them. And if the answer comes back and it's not quite right, then I would think that person's not quite right for the business. And people who have worked close with me and seen me go through this, whether it's online or whether it's in face-to-face, there's a lot of people who I sweep off to the customer side that that would be no good for the business. It's not like I'm heading down the road, seeing these people come towards me and go, oh, that's a customer, or that's a business partner, that's a business partner, or their customers, their customers, their customers. I've got no idea until I have the conversation with them. You know, everyone can be a potential customer, definitely, but not everyone can be a potential business partner. And it's having those conversations, asking those right questions, and then seeing what comes back, and at the same time crafting my questions to lead them at a point where, and this is how you can get your conversions way up to the people that you go, okay, so if I sent you something through on what we're doing and where we're going with this, would you check it out? And so the ones who say yes, you know, when I stick to this really well, and I let's say I go, okay, kids are in bed, Beck's in bed, I'm going to put half an hour into relationship building and communication. So I'll be having these conversations. I might have 15 or 20 on the go to find one that I invite. And when I invite and I send the link, like, it feels like I've just pushed send, and it's like, ding, the alert comes back and they're watching, because we've pre-qualified the whole thing. They know what they want in life. And if they knew how to get it, they'd already have it. So we've uncovered all of that. And so in their head, it's like, this could give me what I want. It's worth me looking at this. And so they look at it and they watch the whole thing. And that education path is, you know, we're working our way down the education path, and you've built relationship and rapport along the way.
I think that makes more sense now that I know you and Sam have been asking some questions like that to me, like, you know, you say if something was really worth it, would you have time? And I've been saying that to some people, but now that you've really spoken about it, it makes more sense. So now I'll be a lot more like powerful when I say it.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
Yeah, that's why I was excited about sharing this. When I was thinking, because I was going to get another guest on this week for this event, and then I was thinking, you know, where are we at? You know, what do the crew need to hear? I was asking myself the questions, right? Thinking, and like, this is just a classic. That it is absolutely classic. And you know, we're talking a lot about business here, but from a parent point of view, you know, think about getting your children to do what's best for them. with, and you know, I've got a teenager now, like that's popping, and she knows everything. I can't believe the wisdom that this kid's got, right? It's like, you're kidding me. Yeah, like, how are you supposed to know this stuff, right? So if she just wants to be right all the time and she knows everything, so then, you know, all I'm going to do is butt heads if I, you know, oppose what she's saying. So now it's just questions, so that she comes out, she tells me what I want to tell her, and I go, what, you know what, Morgan, you're right. Oh yeah, of course I'm right. And then she's like chest out, walking around. So that's, you know, adults are just big little kids. That's all we are. We want to be right. And so I have no problem with potentially coming across like I'm the one that's wrong and the one that's learning from them. And I do. I learn from everyone. So questions, become a question ninja.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. That's 55 minutes we've been going. So I will wrap it up there. This is going to be one of those ones that I think will get shared around a lot. If you found it valuable and you think your teammates can find it valuable, you know, obviously we've got this daylight saving hiccup, which is affecting how many can get onto it live, but I'll take responsibility for that. I've got to be better at getting the announcements out with the time change. So I'll do better for next week. And yeah, this link will be up live. I'll do it straight away. I normally do it Monday morning, but I'll do it as soon as it processes and gives me the thing. So thanks for jumping on, guys. Great to chat with you. Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that I love about adding value to other people. Doing this training right now has brought so much stuff front of mind for me and awareness for me that I'm going to be better at it, like from now on as well. So getting together with your business partners, with your team, and having conversations around it, question storming around it, throwing ideas and questions around and teaching others, you become better at it yourself, always. It's a never ending thing. You know, as I say, the more I know, the less I know. It's crazy. The more I know, the more I know. I don't even know how to say that properly. So there you go. So I'm definitely learning less. The more I know, the more I realize the more I need to know. That's how it comes. That's how I should say it. So thanks for jumping on, guys. And I'll see you all through the week. Massive week coming up. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thanks,
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Guys.
Bye.
Michael.
Fantastic.
Thank you.